lawmaker, certainly if you've had children that have served in the military, you're at the front of the line. So this has been Barack Obama again was called the deporter in chief, but what he did was he took that view. What's not curious, but what's very unfortunate for this country and politically unfortunate for the administration Republicans is it's taken them this long to express this publicly in the face of some violent tactics over the past 6 to 9 months. And I just want to repeat this because I know Republicans watch this, and I just want to repeat this because I know Republicans watch this, and I don't think they listen sometimes to what I'm saying. They just go, oh, Joe's a lefty. No, I'm not. I'm just not. I have been saying from the beginning that the Trump administration trying to chase the same numbers the Biden administration was able to do in deporting people that were here illegally was a losing cause because the Biden administration let so many people in the border, some days 5,000, 10,000 people in and right there. So if they're all down by the border, it's much easier for Border Patrol to send them back over to raise those numbers up. And you're never, ever going to match those numbers by the sort of brutish tactics that we have seen unfold in this country over the last 9 months, and especially in Minneapolis. You're just not going to do that going neighborhood by neighborhood, community by community, street by street, door by door. And the physical, the emotional carnage that comes from that is not going to be politically. You're not going to be able to do that politically. You're going to lose. And that's exactly what's happened here. So the administration has got to figure out a better way moving forward because, yes, Jeff Mason, there's no doubt the overwhelming majority of Americans, what did they say when Donald Trump got elected? We want the southern border secure. And Biden belatedly started moving in that direction to secure the southern border. It took that administration way too long to do it. But Americans want a secure southern border, and they want the worst of the worst out. And as the Wall Street Journal editorial page notes today, the first couple of months, you had 85, 87% of the people being deported being the worst of the worst because they were getting them out of prisons and sending them home. Now that number is down to 5% of those that they're deporting who have committed violent crimes. So now they are deporting a lot of women and children and people who haven't committed violent crimes, who aren't the worst of the worst. So the question moving forward, obviously, is how do they recalibrate? Do they do something more like what Sean Hannity is saying than what their policy has been over the past 9 months?
Well, and clearly the politics are requiring them to recalibrate in some ways based on all of the responses that you just read. Number one, if you've lost Sean Hannity, then you're definitely struggling at the White House under this policy. Number two, I think it's important to note that the tone shift is also a reflection of the fact that the tone is set by the top and set at the top. Stephen Miller is a very, very important policymaker in this White House. President Trump and Vice President Vance, look at the responses that they made to the killing of Renee Good. That was said at the top and then amplified by people like Secretary Noem and, of course, Stephen Miller. The fact that Tom Homan is going in now, he is still a very, very big Trump acolyte. He's got some differences with a few people in the administration, but he is absolutely somebody who is an implementer of President Trump's policies. But the political pressure that is now coming from Republicans, not to mention Democrats, and I would add to that the polling that has shown that the electorate is losing confidence in President Trump's immigration policies. That is having an impact, and that is leading to this shift.
Coming up, a look at the front page of the New York Post as the head of Homeland Security comes under serious pressure. The latest on Secretary Kristi Noem's standing with the White House when Morning Joe comes right back.
Why'd I go to the doctor? When my heart kept skipping a beat, I didn't think much of it. But my girls made me get checked out, and it made such a difference. Turns out, I have AFib, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you notice one or more of these symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did, and my girls are too.
This is no time to wait.
I looked in the mirror and all I could see were these deep lines staring back at me. So that's when I thought about booking a Botox cosmetic consultation. Sometimes as a parent, you just put yourself on the back burner, and that's okay, but it's also okay to do something for you. So I carve out 15 minutes every 4 months for a treatment. Booking a consultation is a way to take time for you, and I'm confident about my results.
Botox cosmetic effects may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away, as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness may be a sign of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions are at highest risk. Don't receive Botox cosmetic if you have skin infection. Side effects may include allergic reactions, injection site pain, headache, eyebrow, eyelid drooping, or swelling. Tell your doctor your medical history, muscle or nerve conditions, and medications including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects.
I'm the one and only Claire, and I got treated with the one and only Botox cosmetic.
Find a licensed Botox cosmetic specialist at BotoxCosmetic.com.
It's Pod's Epic Savings Event. Save up to 25% on moving and storage until February 16th and see why Pods is America's #1 container moving company. Whether you're relocating or renovating, save up to 25% at Pods.com today.
Little by little, age-related macular degeneration tries to take away your vision. You're not the type to sit back and do nothing, so now's the time to take action and make a plan with your doctor that includes PreserVision. It contains the clinically proven formula recommended by the NEI to help reduce the risk of moderate to advanced AMD progression. PreserVision is backed by over 20 years of clinical studies, and it's right here in the palm of your hand.
You spent a lifetime becoming who you are. Don't let AMD take that away.
It's your vision. Take action. Choose PreserVision.
Flooring sale of the century now going on. Lumber Liquidators is moving its national warehouse. Instead of trucking it, we're selling off first quality flooring at up to 80% off. See your local Lumber Liquidator store or LLdeals.com.
Before AG1, I was having some trouble maintaining consistency. My energy was low. And now the biggest change I've noticed is having maintained energy levels. I feel good from morning till night.
Doctors recommend Colay Stool Softener for gentle, dependable relief from constipation. It's so gentle, doctors even recommend it during pregnancy and after surgery. Colace increases water in the stool, making it softer so it's easier to go. No harsh laxatives, cramping, or straining. Colace.
Introducing the new GLP-1 pill, Onro. It's the same weight loss ingredient as the shot, now in a pill. The first ever FDA-approved GLP-1 pill for weight loss, Onro, with an innovative formula that finally unlocks real GLP-1 results in a pill. 1 pill a day to lose 14% of your body weight in a year. The lowest price FDA-approved GLP-1 ever. Now Onro.
Don't kibble your dog.
Oh, hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, Bat.
But what's wrong with this? It's premium stuff.
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means it's ultra-processed at extremely high temperatures that destroy the nutrients in the food. But at Dr. Marty, we gently freeze-dried premium meats, fruit, and vegetables, locking in their nutrients.
Never kibbled.
You got it, kid, and they're gonna love it.
It can be hard when the ones who cared for you need care. But thenewcare.com makes navigating that next step easier. Whether it's a background checked caregiver at home or support at a senior living community, you can find the right fit for your loved one. Search for caregivers with the experience your parents need, from mobility assistance to memory care. Join now and find care at care.com.
The New York Post has hugged the president closely on this issue throughout, but now breaking with him. A new editorial titled, "What Trump's Next Move Needs to Be in Minneapolis." The Post writes this, quote, "It's time to de-escalate in Minneapolis, Mr. President. These enforcement tactics won't turn the tide and instead are backfiring. Swing voters, Hispanics, and independents who turned to you at the last election see U.S. citizens dying at federal agents' hands and recoil in horror. Team Trump needs to cool things down and let the American public see calm leadership. The hasty and misleading rhetoric coming out of the administration needs to stop. However noble the mission is to rid the country of the worst, the broad support for it is now ebbing fast. Mr. President, the American people did not vote for these scenes, and you can't continue to order them to not believe their lying eyes." Again, Jonathan Lemire, that is the New York Post, which obviously has been right there with Donald Trump, especially on this issue of immigration enforcement. Axios has a quote from an administration official just this morning. I'll paraphrase. It says, "The president knew the situation was effed and knew he needed to un-eff it," thereby putting in Tom Homan, who, let's be clear, is not some open border squish. It's still a tough policy, but at least perhaps the leadership from the top with Bovino and maybe even Kristi Noem now sidelined. The way that ICE operates in Minneapolis and other cities may change a bit here.
Yeah, we're in a strange place when a number of Democrats yesterday thought that Tom Homan would sort of be a de-escalatory force, and I think we should be careful as to what happened in terms of our judgment there. But certainly, it's been as well documented. He was more reasonable after an Good killing than the like. You're right. The New York Post differs with Trump on support for Ukraine, but that's about it. They've gone so far to say, their front page say, iced Barbie. In terms of Kristi Noem being sidelined and her penchant for cosplay for what whatever job she's on right now. We'll see, though, what happens next. I'm told this next week or so will be crucial to the fate of Minnesota. They are pulling some agents out. That's a significant step. But Homan's going there. What will he recommend? Will he actually work with local leaders? President Trump did praise the mayor of Minneapolis, and particularly the governor, yesterday in Truth Social. That also a step, perhaps, toward extending an olive branch. Although, let's remember, both of those men are currently under DOJ investigation for allegedly obstructing ICE operations there. There's also been talk, well, maybe ICE will pull out of Minnesota because things are too hot, but they'll simply move somewhere else. We know they're escalated operations right now in Maine. They're considered other cities on the map as well, where they could head next. But Joe and Mika, I think there is a recognition in the last few days, this is a storyline that's gotten away from the White House, that outside of the hardest core Republicans, people don't want to see this. Outside of the hardest core MAGA supporters, people don't want to see these kind of clashes. It just leads to unease and unhappiness, a sense that things are falling apart. We'll see if the president, who's usually good at reading the polls, makes some choices to go in another direction.
Coming up, much of the federal government could be shut down by the end of the week. Senator Tammy Duckworth joins us to talk about the standoff over funding for the Department of Homeland Security when Morning Joe comes right back.
Science didn't stop at diet and exercise. Why would you? Super Beats by Human delivers blood pressure support with clinically researched ingredients, because cardiovascular health is everything health. Available at your local Costco.
Oh no! Our water line broke. It could cost a fortune to get a contractor to come fix it, and it's not covered by homeowners insurance.
That's why you should have HomeServe.
It's Tom Rusin, CEO of HomeServe.
When your water line breaks, HomeServe sends a qualified contractor to fix it and pays for the covered repairs.
With HomeServe, the American dream of owning a home doesn't need to be a nightmare.
Plans from HomeServe start at just $4.99 a month.
Call 1-833-236-9267 or visit homeserve.com.
Muddy paws, dirty shoes, endless cleaning? Your floors never seem to stay clean. Now there's a simple solution. Meet Muddy Mat, the ultra-absorbent microfiber mat that traps dirt instantly. Engineered with thousands of advanced ultra-soft microfibers that are 5 times more absorbent than ordinary doormats. Muddy Mat doesn't just catch dirt, it locks it in. Whether it's mud, snow, sand, or water, every step on your new Muddy Mat leaves your floors spotless. And its reinforced rubber backing keeps it firmly in place. No more slipping or sliding. Perfect for your entryway, kitchen, bathroom, or even under your pet's food bowl, Muddy Mat absorbs up to 5 times more water. And when it's time for a cleanup, just toss it in the washing machine and it comes out looking as good as new.
Dog parents, this is a must-have. My floors have never been so clean. I mean, both Ruby and Blue came in covered in mud, and this anti-mud mat left their paws sparkling.
I've got muddy mats all over the house. I even use one as a bath mat. It feels so good under my feet. It's so soft. Non-slip backing makes it safe too.
With multiple dogs, I've always struggled with having dirty paws on the floor, but with this mat, I can finally stop stressing out about it because there are no prints anywhere.
It's so soft and squishy. I've even found my puppy sleeping on the mat instead of his bed. They work so well, I bought 3 more so I could put them all over my house.
You just place the Muddy Mat in front of the door and you'll save up so much time cleaning the floors. Go get one. Thank me later.
Imagine the relief of coming home to clean floors every day. Call the number on the screen or visit trymuddymat.com or simply scan the QR code right now to claim an incredible 70% off and get your free Muddy Mat today. But hurry, this exclusive offer is available only for a limited time. Once they are gone, they are gone. Don't let dirt dictate your day. Join thousands of satisfied customers who have already transformed their homes with Muddy Mat. Act now. Clean floors, happy home.
Call 1-800-505-1878.
These bills are crazy.
She has no idea she's sitting on a gold mine.
Well, she doesn't know that if she owns a life insurance policy of $100,000 or more, she can sell all or part of it to Coventry for cash, even a term policy.
Even a term policy?
Even a term policy!
Find out if you're sitting on a gold mine. Call Coventry Direct today at 800-738-1300 or visit coventrydirect.com.
This is a story about the one. The one who looks to Grainger to make sparks fly. Getting it done right is a craft. It takes experience, the right material, and the right partner like Grainger with a wide range of professional-grade products. For the one, working hard means others can play even harder. Call, click Grainger.com, or stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The grind catches up with everyone, even me. That's why I trust Cunol Ultra High Absorption Turmeric to support my joint health. It's the #1 doctor-recommended form of turmeric. It helps you keep doing the things you love at every age. Cunol, the brand I trust.
Doctors recommend Colay Stool Softener for gentle, dependable relief from constipation. It's so gentle, doctors even recommend it during pregnancy and after surgery. Colace increases water in the stool, making it softer so it's easier to go. Also available in delicious gummies and soft chews.
At Consumer Cellular, we only hire real humans right here in America.
That's why we're ranked #1 in customer satisfaction.
I wish I was human.
It's pretty great. Right now, get your second month free. Call Consumer Cellular.
The federal government is headed for a partial shutdown this Friday as lawmakers battle over funding for President Trump's immigration enforcement agenda following Saturday's second deadly shooting by ICE officials in Minneapolis. A growing number of Democratic senators are warning they will not vote for a $1.2 trillion federal funding package if it includes money for the Department of Homeland Security, which oversees immigration enforcement. Joining us now, one of those senators, Democrat Tammy Duckworth of Illinois. She's a member of the Senate Armed Services and Foreign Relations Committees and is also an Iraq War veteran and recipient of the Purple Heart. It is good to have you on the show this morning.
Thank you so much, Senator.
Understand what's at stake with a potential shutdown here moving forward, but DHS was funded in the last budget in a huge way and certainly won't be for a lack of money anytime soon. What is the point of this potential shutdown and holding strong on that? Is there anything that can be done about the massive amount of money that has already been approved for DHS?
Well, the problem we have is that even in the big, beautiful bill, Trump's big, beautiful bill, they gave ICE and CPB $70 billion slush fund to play with. What we're asking for is for Leader Thune to break out the DHS budget. Let us pass the rest of the bill. Let us pass the rest of the bill, and then let's go and sit down and work on putting some restraints on ICE. You know, I have my Police Accountability and Independent Review Act, which says anytime ICE is involved in a shooting, there should be an independent review, transparent. We need to put guardrails around ICE, and that's all Democrats are asking for. So Republicans to be responsible about how ICE operates in our nation's cities, whether that's a blue city or red city.
Yeah, Senator, yesterday, 10 Republicans, I think we counted, came out strongly, especially people like Rand Paul, who, of course, runs the pertinent committee here, but came out strongly saying there needed to be an investigation into the shootings. I'm curious, is there a chance to work with the Republicans and Democrats? Is there a chance to get a bipartisan agreement on this, since we have Bill Cassidy, Susan Collins, Crapo, Curtis, McCormick, Moran, Murkowski, Ricketts, Tillis, and Young, all calling for an investigation. Is there an opportunity here for peace to break out, for there to be a bipartisan deal?
There very much is an opportunity for that, but it's up to the Republican leadership to decide that, right? These 10 Republican colleagues of mine need to go to their leader, Leader Thune, and say, hey, break out the DHS funding package. We'll pass the rest of it, and then we'll negotiate with the Democrats. Put together a team of people to negotiate. We on the Democratic side have put together our list of what we would like to see to put some restraints on ICE, and then we can come to an agreement. But it's up to them to decide whether or not they want to negotiate and make this bipartisan.
Senator, good morning. We just showed that list of senators, Republicans who've spoken out. We're hearing from some members of the House, including the chair, a Republican chair from out of Long Island of the House Homeland Security Committee, saying the leaders of these organizations need to come and testify about what's going on after the shooting death now of Alex Preddy. Can you speak to behind the scenes what you've been hearing from your Republican colleagues that's now spilled out into the public, which is their frustration in some cases, disgust in others with what's been happening in Minneapolis?
Well, from a very few of them, I've heard some disgust, but they are very much tentative. They are scared of retribution from the White House. Many of them have seen their colleagues see retribution, and they're very much afraid of that. But, what I say to them is, you're supposed to love this country first. You're supposed to love our Constitution first. We're supposed to be defending our Constitution, not whoever is sitting in the White House, and ICE needs to be reined in. And I think they're finally seeing that. But I got to be honest with you, when I talked to a few of my colleagues, they have not even seen the videos. It's almost like they put blinders on. They're uneasy. They haven't even seen the videos. The Democrats, we've all watched every single video from every single angle.
Yeah, that is hard to believe. Democratic Senator Tammy Duckworth of Illinois, thank you so much for being with us. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Coming up, Minnesota went to court against the federal government to preserve evidence from the Saturday killing of Alex Preddy. We'll talk to the state's Attorney General, Keith Ellison, about that case and his push to end the Trump administration's crackdown in the Twin Cities. That conversation is straight ahead on Morning Joe.
Hello, thank you for calling the Guaranteed Life Insurance Helpline. How can I assist you today?
Hi, this is Marie. I'm looking for life insurance. I just lost my sister, and her family, they weren't ready. The bills, the funeral, everything. It's all just too much. I don't want my own family to go through that. I saw a commercial about guaranteed acceptance life insurance. No health questions, no exams. Is that really true?
Marie, I'm so sorry for your loss. Yes, it's true. With a Guaranteed Acceptance Life Insurance Plan, your acceptance is guaranteed if you are between the ages of 50 and 85. You can get up to $25,000 in coverage, no medical exams, no health questions. Plus, the money can even be paid to your loved ones within 24 hours. You can have peace of mind knowing they'll have the support.
Oh my, that's such a relief to hear. But I'm a little concerned about the price. How much does it cost?
I understand, Marie. Guaranteed Acceptance whole life policies start at less than $7 a month. It's designed to give you peace of mind, knowing you've done what you can to help protect your family, so they won't have to face that extra weight when the time comes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This means everything to me.
If you're between the ages of 50 and 85, you automatically qualify for up to $25,000 in life insurance plan coverage. There are no health questions and no medical exams. You cannot be turned down due to health. Your acceptance is guaranteed. Policies start at $6.38 per month, with most benefits paid in as little as 24 hours. And best of all, your rate will never increase, and your coverage will never decrease. That's our Rate Lock Guarantee.
I feel better knowing my family will have this support no matter what. It's such a weight off my shoulders.
I'm so glad I could help. That peace of mind is exactly what we want to provide you at a cost that works for you.
Call the Guaranteed Life Insurance Helpline now and get up to $25,000 in coverage.
Call 800-208-8917. 800-208-8917.
Chances are your home is contaminated with unpurified air.
Did you know you take over 20,000 breaths a day? And this is what you're inhaling.
Did you know the air inside your home is 5 times more polluted than outdoor air?
I had no idea. This is what I was breathing.
Meet Barnacle, the world's first ceiling fan air purifier that's lab tested and scientifically proven to reduce airborne pollutants by up to 99% in as little as 3 hours. No plugs, no bulky machines, no noise, just smart, effective, quiet air filtration that works in harmony with your fan's natural airflow. Look, ceiling fans just push dirty air around. With Barnacle, it's not just spinning, it's cleaning the air. The all-natural coconut carbon filters go to work capturing airborne mold, dust, allergens, microplastics, even dangerous gases, all while neutralizing odors.
I feel better, I breathe better, I sleep better.
These filters have been a game changer for my allergies.
I love my dog, but definitely not my house smelling like him.
I dust half as often. Seriously, these filters are amazing.
If you have a ceiling fan in your home, you need this product.
Think about it. You filter your water, so why not the air you breathe? Candles and sprays only mask odors. Barnacle's porous design not only traps odors and other dangerous particles, it eliminates them.
I never thought to use my ceiling fan as an air purifier, but now I can't imagine living without it.
Join the millions of families already breathing easier with Barnacle ceiling fan filters. Yours for only $21.99. As part of this special TV-only offer, order now and we'll send you a second set absolutely free. Every order comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee.
Barnacle is worth every penny for a cleaner, healthier home.
Plus, find out how you can get free shipping. Stop breathing this. Enjoy fresher, cleaner air with Barnacle.
This is where we go.
Let's go down to Erin Andrews with the MVP of the Flag Football World Games.
Kevin, thanks so much. I am here with world champion Deanna Flores. And Deanna, you are so elusive. Is there anybody that can pull your flags?
Well, I'm sure someone can.
They're right here.
What?
Pull your flag! What are you doing?
Man, I'm trying to lock down the perimeter and you worried about sauce.
It's all about the sauce.
All units code red. We gotta run it. Come on now. She got moves.
Oh, that was Deanna Flores, star quarterback and captain for Mexico's national flag football team in an NFL Super Bowl commercial back in 2023. And Deanna has become a global face of flag football, a fast-growing sport that will make its Olympic debut in Los Angeles in 2028. She's also out with a new book entitled Flag Football for Dummies, which breaks down everything from how the game works to her own journey, beginning when she first picked up a football at just the age of 8, at a time when she was often told the sport wasn't for her. And we're proud to announce today that Deanna will take the stage as a speaker at Forbes and Know Your Values 3050 Summit in Abu Dhabi in March. And she joins us now, also with us for the conversation, Maggie McGrath, editor of Forbes Women. It is so great to have you with us this morning, and we're so excited.
I'm Pete Mundine at Reagan National Airport. This is CNN.
I'm live here in Minneapolis as emotions very high, frustration very high, and demands for ICE to leave by residents here still front and center as the administration begins to crack in its tough stance, now talking about bringing some agents out and also replacing the leadership. Amidst all this, there is a strong reaction to the way the administration has been talking about the victim in this case, Alex Preddy, who died at the hands of Border Patrol officers in the streets, all of it caught on camera. Everyone here is looking at what the administration is saying and seeing them smear a dead man's name, a man killed by their agents. So we went out and talked to some of the people who knew him to learn more about Alex Preddy and the life that he led.
37-year-old Alex Preddy was an ICU nurse. His job involved treating critically ill patients at the Minneapolis Veterans Medical Center.
May we never forget and always remember our brothers and sisters who have served so that we may enjoy the gift of freedom.
That's him giving tribute to a veteran who died. A chaplain who worked alongside him for 10 years at the VA hospital spoke of him in a Sunday service.
He was known for his kindness and gentleness.
Border Patrol agents shot Preddy multiple times. His came to the neighborhood hunting someone else.
Absolutely, he was standing up for someone.
Preddy's friends and neighbors say he began protesting ICE actions after an ICE agent killed Renee Good during her encounter with ICE.
Alex that I want the world to remember was out on the streets yesterday with 50,000 people on general strike in a mass nonviolent protest.
Preddy grew up in Green Bay, Wisconsin. He was a Boy Scout, sang in the Green Bay Boys Choir, and played football, baseball, and ran track at Preble High School.
A lot of people had a lot of respect for him. An attack on Alex feels like an attack on all of us.
His former high school classmate described him as someone with a zest for life.
I don't have words to describe the amount of rage that I have when he's described as a domestic terrorist. That he was there to help people. He was there to spread a message of warmth and love in this country.
He graduated from the University of Minnesota in 2011 with a degree in biology, society, and the environment. He was a research scientist before he became a registered nurse. He was an outdoorsman who also loved the theater and the arts. His parents released a statement describing their son. Alex, they said, was a kind-hearted soul who cared deeply for his family and friends and also the American veterans whom he cared for. Alex wanted to make a difference in this world. Unfortunately, he will not be with us to see his impact. A former teacher recalled he was a good student who loved helping people. I'm not one bit surprised that his final act on this earth was to help a woman who'd been viciously thrown to the ground.
This is a guy who was trying to serve others, too. He was genuine, he was kind, he was friendly to everybody that I know.
And there is nothing in his background that would suggest what the Trump administration initially said about him, that he was a domestic terrorist. That has riled people here who are standing up for his legacy as a person that they say has always just wanted to help people, which is why he became an ICU nurse at the Veterans Facility. All right, let us bring in now the NAACP President, Derek Johnson, who is joining us now and on your way, as I understand it, to Minneapolis. What are your plans and what will be your message as you get here?
Well, we're launching a campaign to defund ICE. At this point,
It is an agency that has lost all trust of the American people. It is no longer about Border Patrol. It's no longer about addressing individuals undocumented who are here causing some type of criminal activity. It is causing harm to American people. It is killing American citizens. That should not be funded. Congress must act this week and not pass the continuing resolutions to fund ICE, because if it does, it is state-sanctioned harm that's creating problems for the American people.
You will have to remind me, because I do not remember this, but wanted to ask you about this. There was a huge movement after the police murder of George Floyd here in this city, where people were calling to defund the police. Did the NAACP ever take a stand on that, or is this something that is really unprecedented, that you're asking the federal government and Congress, members of Congress, to defund ICE?
So this is completely separate. Let's understand. ICE enforcement agencies are seeking to enact civil penalties for individuals who they believe are in this country undocumented and who have been part of criminal activities in this country. What we are witnessing are individuals who are masked, unidentified, terrorizing communities, and killing U.S. citizens. That is two completely different things. In this moment, Congress has the ability to hold this agency, this administration, accountable, but not pushing forth funding for an agency that has proven to be ineffective. We don't know who these officers are. They are undertrained. They have no sensitivity towards U.S. citizens. They are terrorizing citizens. And in two very clear incidents, they killed American citizens, and this administration tried to cover it up and mislead the American people. This is completely different. This is something we've never seen in this country before, and we should not use our tax dollars to fund the assassination of citizens in the streets of Minneapolis or any other street in this country.
I do want to ask you if you know anything about Nekima Levy-Pounds, who was the former local leader of the NAACP, who was arrested after going into a church and protesting the pastor there, who was a member of ICE as well as a pastor. What are you learning, if anything, about her and how she is and what she has been saying about what happened to her?
A very strong voice, an advocate, someone in that community who's a pastor, who's a lawyer, who is also concerned with the harm that was being created to communities, neighborhoods, and citizens. Once again, we're talking about an agency that has allowed their officers to go into communities. We don't know if they're true ICE agents or not. There's no accountability. We don't even know the identity of the two individuals who shot the citizen this past weekend. We should not tolerate in this country vigilante justice any more than state-sanctioned justice. And what we are witnessing here are individuals we think are officers of ICE. We don't know. We don't know their identity. There's no accountability. There's no oversight. And it has been shown that this administration is willing to cover up, mislead, or lie about the incidents when the video footage is clear around what has happened. So I commend Nekima and all those who have taken to the street for peaceful protests to say this isn't right, this isn't America, or it should not be America, and Congress must act this week and not provide funding to this agency that is terrorizing U.S. citizens, not individuals who are undocumented, U.S. citizens.
And her case still ongoing with the administration saying she illegally went into this church. It is one of the investigations that is happening that we know more about than the investigation by the federal government into. Hold on. Hold on. I will come back to you, but we know more about. My point is, we know more.
Yeah, your statement, she illegally went into a church. She didn't illegally go into a church. Your statement was she illegally went into a church. She didn't illegally into a church. I want to stay focused on
yes, it wasn't my statement.
This is a problem. This agency is a problem, and it should not be funded by Congress. Yes. This is the week that Congress must act. The U.S. Senate has the ability to move forward and not fund this agency, because this agency is causing harm in our communities. That's why we called it on the American people to text dry ice to 20707, and so we can pass through to Congress and say, do not fund this agency. We have never seen something as grotesque as we're witnessing today. Video footage of a woman being shot in her face in the U.S., as well as an individual who have been shot simply by having a video, his phone camera in his hand. Peaceful protest. In this moment, we must stand up as Americans across communities and say, let's stop funding this agency, because this administration have not proven to hold this agency accountable.
Yes, and my point was that we know more about what they are saying and their investigation into the former leader of the NAACP here than we do about the officers involved in the shooting of Alex Preddy, this latest shooting, and the investigation into the shooting of Renee Good. So that is something that people have really noticed and are very, very upset with. And I do want to mention, I know that you were coming here. We are now learning that there is going to be a town hall by Ilhan Omar, a congressperson's representative here in Minneapolis, who I'm sure all of these issues will be coming up there. CNN will also have its town hall on Wednesday, speaking to many different leaders, and I'm sure that you too will be invited to come and attend that. We do appreciate you taking the time. I know you're on your way here in transit because this weather has been treacherous for everyone trying to get here. Thank you to NAACP President Derek Johnson for speaking with me here in Minneapolis. John Cape.
This morning, is there a Republican revolt in the president's immigration crackdown, all in the wake of the killing of Alex Preddy? Elected officials, Republicans out with new public criticism. An op-ed in the Conservative National Review says, fire Kristi Noem into the sun. Unwelcome forecast. A new winter storm could be on the way as 200 million people deal with brutal, deadly, and expensive cold. And who needs the front door when you can fly right through a building at 125 miles per hour? I'm John Berman with Kate Baldwin in New York. Sarah Seiner live in Minneapolis. This is
not reasonable under the circumstances.
Almost always, these officers are going to testify. They're going to give their account of how quickly things happened, and they're going to tell you this was my mindset. So in order for you to find them liable or find them guilty, you would basically have to go beyond what they said and say, well, this was not reasonable.
As questions of accountability linger, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem is expected to testify before the Senate Judiciary Committee in March. That's coming from a Republican committee spokesperson. Each member will have 10 minutes to question her as part of the committee's public oversight hearing. And in Minneapolis tonight, there's another rally. The flyer reads, "Bye bye Bovino. We won't stop until ICE is out." Back to you.
Our thanks to MS Now's Britt Miller for that report. Meanwhile, in a pair of Minnesota courtrooms yesterday, state lawyers argued two separate lawsuits against the ICE buildup in that state. In one case, the state is suing the administration, looking for a judge to grant a restraining order against what is known as Operation Metro Surge. The second case focuses on the matter of Alex Preddy. Lawyers there argue that a judge needs to step in and ensure that federal law enforcement properly preserve evidence. Joining us now, Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison. Mr. Attorney General, thank you for joining us this morning. We'd love to get updates on both of those cases. Let's start with Mr. Preddy. Talk to us about the arguments, why it's so necessary for the federal government to preserve this evidence, and frankly, how unusual it is that you even have to take this step.
Well, it is extremely unusual. Normally, we have a lot of cooperation between state and local authorities on crime investigation, particularly use of force death investigation. But after the death of Renee Good, we were stonewalled, and the federal authorities, the local ones who we work with all the time, we're told that they had orders from Washington to exclude the state. And then there was another shooting that was non-lethal in North Minneapolis, also connected to the ICE search. And then another exclusion, denial of the scene access. So on this third one, we came to the conclusion that absolutely we could not just wait around. We could not hope for the best. We went to court last Saturday night, got a temporary injunction, got a temporary restraining order, and then we had a hearing just yesterday at 2:00. Our hope is that the order will continue to preserve, protect, prohibit altering, and gain access so that we can investigate this case ourselves. As you know, in your audience, I want them to know that there is no legal bar to the state prosecuting anyone who commits a crime in our state, including a federal official. There are certain qualified immunities that apply, but we believe that they can be overcome given the right fact pattern.
So it sounds like you're not ruling that out. Tell us a little more, if you will. But secondly, yesterday we heard from President Trump twice on social media talking about a conversation he had with the mayor of Minneapolis and then the governor of Minnesota, Governor Walz. He deemed both constructive. He said there was more cooperation. Have those words turned anything, as best you can tell, into reality on the ground? Has there been any increased federal cooperation with local and state officials?
Not that I've seen so far, but I mean, you should understand, Minnesota is abiding by the law as written. We under the 10th Amendment, the federal government doesn't have the authority to convert us into its deputies. We have the right as a state, as a co-sovereign, to do our own business with our own tax money. And what the federal government has done is said, well, if you don't do it our way, we're going to saturate your state with 4,000 ICE agents until you cry uncle and obey us. And that's unconstitutional and illegal. The conversation that you mentioned, I'm glad they're having the conversation. It's a good thing. But we need to see some results. And at this point, we're in a situation where they got to show, not just say. And so that's where we stand. Hopefully they will. Hopefully Trump will get rid of Operation Metro Surge right away.
So on that, we also saw President Trump reshuffle, I guess, some of the personnel that's going to be there in Minnesota. Greg Bovino heading out, Tom Homan heading in. Do you take any comfort from that? There's some Border Patrol agents are leaving the state the next day or so, reportedly. Do you think this is the beginning of a walk back, or do you and frankly the citizens of Minnesota still believe and will therefore that state rights are being infringed and therefore you'll carry out these suits?
We're going to carry out our suits because we need to get some law on the books, because even if they do stop the surge, they can resurge, right? And so we've got to make sure that we get some good law in place to govern their conduct. But I do think it's a good thing if the Trump administration recognizes that Mr. Bovino's leadership has failed and he needs to be switched out. I will say Mr. Bovino was brought in and made this commander of Border Patrol because he's particularly aggressive and hard line. And so now that he does what you wanted him to do, now you're getting rid of him because the results were bad. Okay, fine. Whatever hypocrisy associated is with that is what it is. I hope Holman, who has a background in policing, will use that and maybe things will be better. But again, Mr. Holman's not known as a soft touch either. And is known for his hardline tactics. So, I guess the future just has to unfold, and we'll see what happens next. He's coming in after we've had 3 shootings and 2 killings in 2 weeks, so maybe he will be different.
Okay. Attorney General for the state of Minnesota, Keith Ellison, thank you once again for being on the show this morning.
Thank you.
So, Republican candidate, good to have you. Chris Mattel has dropped out of the race for governor of Minnesota amid the growing fallout over the Trump administration's ICE operations in the state. In a video announcement posted online yesterday, Mattel criticized the GOP, saying he cannot remain in a party that supports tactics that make American citizens fear immigration officers.
Today, I announced the end of my campaign. I have two primary reasons for this decision. Number one, I cannot support the National Republican's stated retribution on the citizens of our state, nor can I count myself a member of a party that would do so. I support the originally stated goals of Immigration's and Customs Enforcement's Operation Metro Surge in locating and deporting the worst of the worst from our state, but Operation Metro Surge has expanded far beyond its stated focus on true public safety threats. United States citizens, particularly those of color, live in fear. United States citizens are carrying papers to prove their citizenship. That's wrong. And the reality is that the National Republicans have made it nearly impossible for a Republican to win a statewide election in Minnesota. It is a simple fact.
What do you think of that?
Well, I would agree that being a Republican in Minnesota right now, and having an election coming up in the fall would be about as tough of a political climb as I could imagine. You look nationwide, and these operations have been toxic, especially among independent voters, and of course a lot of Democratic voters, and you'll need some of those to win in Minnesota. And so just completely toxic there. And also, as I always say about campaigns, I'm very glad the president's talking to the governor of Minnesota and the mayor of Minneapolis, and let's hope we're moving in that direction. But there are some images that are going to last there forever that we're going to see across the country that came out of the worst in Minneapolis. And if you're a Republican, especially in that state, that's just and again, you never want to say never in politics. A week is a lifetime in politics. I've got to say, though, this seems awfully tough for any Republican candidate in Minnesota running statewide to get past. Let's bring in right now Managing Editor of The Bulwark, Sam Stein, to get his opinion on that. Sam, we saw so much happen yesterday in such rapid succession. It just one after another. You hear about this gentleman dropping his race to be governor in Minnesota. You start to hear Republicans speaking out about it. Rand Paul, who of course has the chairmanship, demanding they come to the Hill. Then the president announces that he's talked to Tim Walz. Then you have a lot happened yesterday, dizzying pace, but all of it, especially for those candidates that are running and say swing states like Maine, where there is still a nice operation. This is, if you look at any polls, this is even Republican polls, and even the president's pollsters will say this is extremely bad politics, even taking the morality out of it for Republican candidates across the country.
Oh, 100%. The video that you just played was significant. This man assuredly wasn't going to win the governorship, but he quit the Republican Party. I mean, he quit the Republican Party in the video. It wasn't just that he dropped his bid. And he spoke from a position of morality, saying he couldn't be part of an organization that supported that type of ICE activity, that type of immigration enforcement. And this is someone who actually, I believe, was the lawyer for the cop who was involved in the killing of Renee Good. So that goes to show you how quickly the situation has shifted here. And look, frankly, it's not that complicated, right? What happened over the weekend was Alex Preddy was killed, and then the administration went out and slandered Alex Preddy. They slandered him. And we all saw with our eyes what happened. We saw a situation where this man was trying to protect someone who had been shoved by ICE and then was pepper sprayed in the face, then was beaten by a number of ICE officials, and then was shot. And then they lied about it. And it doesn't take a genius to realize that people, normal people, will recoil at seeing something like that, and then they will recoil again when the state lies about that. They will say, this is not a place where I want to live. This is not a society that I feel a part of. And you saw it happen because people who normally don't really care about politics, or who were politically curious in 2024 and maybe, took a chance on Trump. We're talking about the Barstool people. the Joe Rogans of the world, they put out videos and they said, this is absurd and I won't stay silent. And it was only the really committed MAGA types who were rushing to a defense. And look, Trump can read a poll. Let's just be honest about it. He can read a poll. He knows what's up. And it wasn't a shock to me that he spent yesterday trying to backtrack, trying to find an off-ramp, trying to find someone who would fall on the sword. And it might be Greg Bovino, it might be Kristi Noem, but this isn't going away. This is a big, persistent problem.
You know, you're so right about people that don't usually follow politics. There are occasionally, we sit here and we talk about it for 4 hours a day. And it's your job, it's all of our jobs to follow the news, follow the trends. And we see things that deeply concern us, possibly ahead of time, before Americans do, because they're busy running their lives. I figured that out in politics. But I will tell you, you are right. This is something that cut through. We played Charles Barkley at the top of the 7 o'clock hour yesterday. Why? Because if Charles Barkley's talking about this, and Barkley doesn't really usually talk politics at all, that's something that breaks through. I was out with a friend.
To an audience that is looking to watch sports, not looking to hear about politics.
Right. Exactly. And I saw, I was with someone that I know a week ago, and we were out talking. We never talk politics. He knows that I do this for a living, but we just never discuss politics. I'm fairly confident he voted for Donald Trump, probably 3 times. But we're sitting there and we're walking, and then he just turns to me and goes, "What the hell's going on in Greenland and Minneapolis?" And I just sat there thinking, okay, here's a guy, he hates politics, he hates politicians, he doesn't follow the news, he doesn't want to know about the news, it's all depressing to him, which I think probably applies to 90% of Americans. And this guy turns to me and said, "What in the hell is going on in Greenland and Minneapolis?" And I just, as I usually do in politics, it's the civilian world, I just like, how about the Red Sox? So I briefly talked about it, but then moved on. But I just said, my God, this is really breaking through America. You would see that on the campaign trail, where you knock on doors and everybody would talk about this same thing that maybe people in the press weren't talking about. But here, you are exactly right. This is broken through to people who don't follow politics.
It's this. It's the cell phone. Okay? It's the cell phone. If not for that, I don't know how big a story this is. I mean, it's a big story, obviously. But think about what you were doing over the weekend. You were watching reams of cell phone footage from different angles, all telling the same story. It meant that the administration could not lie. They tried, but they couldn't get away with it. It meant that you understood exactly what happened. It meant that it spread like wildfire on social media. It meant that you saw testimonials from people who knew Alex Preddy, who could confirm that he was a literal choir boy and an ICU nurse. It meant that you saw videos of Alex Preddy in a VA giving that moving speech, the last rite, to one of his patients. Okay? It meant that you could watch Greg Bovino and you could see the tweets from Stephen Miller and you could judge with your own eyes that they were lying. The cell phone has changed everything, okay? And so that means that people who are maybe politically curious or aren't looking to get this type of information will get it. Now, there's plenty of downsides to that. We've covered them a lot here, where misinformation and disinformation will flood your streams, where you get misled. But in occasions like this, it is an equalizer. It means that the state cannot lie about something that we see with our eyes. The cell phone has really transformed what we're doing here.
Yeah.
And in this particular moment, this weekend, most of the country was paralyzed by a major winter storm. It was snowing and it was freezing. People stayed indoors. What were they doing indoors? They were watching television and they were seeing the scenes of Minneapolis on the news, and they were looking at their phones. And whether it was TikTok or Instagram or Twitter or whatever it might be, they were seeing this footage over and over and over again. And Joe Mika, to your point of it breaking through into some apolitical spaces, one of the bigger podcasters out there, he's a sports podcaster, he talks to mostly young men, Bill Simmons. He ended his most recent podcast, which came out Sunday night, saying, look, I deliberately don't talk about politics on this show but I can't help it. What I saw in Minneapolis on the weekend horrified me. And he said that, he knows sports is a distraction. He tries to keep his space free for that. But he said the killing of Alex Preddy reminded him of Kent State. It reminded him of the horrors of the past. And he said he had no choice but to speak out. Everyone knows this one. It broke through.
And you bring up such a great point. People were in their homes, especially in the Northeast, because of the snowstorms. They were watching that. There have been many times over the past 30 years where something big may be happening on, say, a Thursday or a Friday night, let's say in the fall. And I'm looking at it and I'm like going, this is probably going to get lost by Monday because people are out watching, high school football games. This weekend they're going to be watching football. They're going to be doing other things. They're going to be outside. They're not going to be seeing this. This is something, though, that again, cut through for the reasons that Jonathan and Sam said, and cut through in such a way that there was a poll, an unspoken poll for the most part, but a poll cast over two of the biggest NFL games all year. You just got a sense that millions of Americans were watching that game, going, "Well, watch this," but
I'm feeling something else.
Man, this is far from front of mind.
All right, coming up on Morning Joe, some of the biggest companies in Minnesota are calling for a de-escalation of tensions. The first time some of the most recognizable businesses in the state are weighing in following the fatal shootings by federal agents there. CNBC's Sandra Sorkin joins us next on the test those business leaders face. We'll be right back.
Terrence Lee Randolph, March 30th, 1947, December 10th, 2024. Today we remember that freedom is not free. We have to work at it, nurture it, protect it, and even sacrifice for it. May we never forget and always remember our brothers and sisters who have served, so that we may enjoy the gift of freedom. So in this moment, we remember and give thanks for their dedication and selfless service to our nation in the cause of our freedom. In this solemn hour, we render our honor and our gratitude.
My eyes, they're dry, looking for hydration. Blink NutriTears is a once daily supplement clinically proven to help your eyes produce more of their own tears for lasting, continuous relief. A different way to support dry eyes.
This is the year your hair stops holding you back. You'll wear it down, and for the first time in a while, you'll like the way your part is falling. The shift, it comes from sticking with the routine that works from the inside out. Get growing at Nutrafol.com.
Did you recently lose your Medicare plan for 2026? If your Medicare Advantage plan was terminated, now is the time to check your zip code and find a new Medicare Advantage plan in your area. Insurance companies offer different plans in different zip codes, and some Medicare Advantage plans were terminated for 2026. If your plan was terminated, call the number on your screen for a free Medicare benefit review. Medicare Advantage plans, networks, and benefits differ based on your zip code. If you lost coverage, now is the time to call and review your options. You still have time to enroll in a new Medicare Advantage plan for 2026, but it won't happen automatically. More than half of people on Medicare are enrolled in a Medicare Advantage plan, and 2026 plan terminations happen throughout the country. If you're one of the people who lost coverage, now is the time to check your zip code. If you're unhappy about losing coverage or returning to original Medicare alone, we can help you shop for other coverage options in your area. Don't go through 2026 without the coverage you need. You may be eligible to enroll today. If your Medicare Advantage plan was terminated and will no longer be available in 2026, this is your chance to shop, compare, and enroll in a new plan. But you must take action to do so. Call the Medicare Benefits Helpline at the number on your screen. Licensed insurance agents are standing by to help people in your zip code. Take action now before your special enrollment period ends. If your Medicare Advantage plan was terminated, this is your chance to enroll in a new plan for 2026. The Medicare Benefits Helpline is open now and ready to assist. If your plan was terminated, do not wait. Make sure you get the right plan for your needs. Call now for your free Medicare benefit review and enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan today.
Call 800-411-5039. That's 800-411-5039. 800-411-5039. Call now.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought in a million years we'd have to use life insurance. With Ethos, it's so fast and easy. Get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage.
Check your price today at ethos.com.
Oh no! Our water line broke. It could cost a fortune to get a contractor to come fix it, and it's not covered by homeowners insurance.
That's why you should have HomeServe.
It's emergency of HomeServe.
When your water line breaks, HomeServe sends a qualified contractor to fix it and pays for the covered repairs.
With HomeServe, the American dream of owning a home doesn't need to be a nightmare.
Plans from HomeServe start at just $4.99 a month.
Call 1-888-246-2612 or visit homeserve.com.
Some mornings the road calls for more than just horsepower. It asks for intention, precision, a quiet confidence that doesn't need to announce itself. It's the details, how you carry the moment that sets the tone. This isn't just about looking sharp, it's about feeling ready. Crafted for motion, built with purpose, designed to perform from sunrise to last light. Collars & Co. Presence starts here. Try it for yourself today at collarsandco.com.
How do you think about your last year serving and what you want to accomplish over this next year? Do you trust the FBI to handle the oversight of this investigation? That is what media does. They hold power to account.
I believe in the United States of America as a government of the people, by the people, for the people, for which American patriots sacrificed their lives and fortunes. I therefore believe it is my duty to my country to love it, to respect its flag, to support its Constitution.
Welcome back. A high-ranking leader in the Catholic Church is railing criticism of the Trump administration's actions surrounding immigration enforcement, urging worshipers yesterday to be more vocal about highlighting injustice.
If we are serious about putting our faith in action, we need to say no. How do you say no? In this week when an appropriations bill is going to be considered in Congress, will you contact your Congress representative, your congressional representatives, the senators and representatives from your district? We ask them for the love of God, the love of human beings, which can't be separated. Vote against renewing funding for such a lawless organization.
That's Cardinal Joseph Tobin of Newark, New Jersey, who is one of Pope Leo's closest American allies. And his pleas come amid the Pope's condemnation of the mistreatment of migrants. And Joe, we've talked a lot on this show about how the Catholic Church, and set from the very top from Pope Leo, has been so strong on a number of issues during this Trump presidency. At times subtle, but always clear-eyed. And particularly the way that migrants have been treated here in the United States, they make it clear that is not the teaching of Jesus. That is not the teachings of the Church.
Right. Well, and for those on the right offended by that, and I will be first with it, it's a remarkable statement coming from the Catholic Church. But that said, it is. You have many people on the right, Christian nationalists, Silicon Valley for a second. Here are people that were screeching on podcasts for years. Oh my God. 19-year-old kids are saying this on college campus. Oh my God. You know, sophomores in college are being taught this or that or the other. And that, you know, all they did was talk about things like that. Bill Ackman at the top of that list, along with so many people in Silicon Valley. But strangely silent when Americans are being gunned down in the street. I'm talking now not of Bill Ackman, who I believe gave $10,000 to Alex's family. I'm talking about Silicon Valley, who, again, their leaders loved talking about politics, but now strangely quiet when it may be seen crossing the Trump administration.
You know, we've been talking about just how scared CEOs in America have been about speaking about it, about anything that would be at odds with this president. I've been calling for the last 48 hours for CEOs to speak out, specifically to the point you just made about Silicon Valley. We have some new news I do want to bring you, Joe, this morning. We put this in DealBook. This is a note from Sam Altman from OpenAI, who, of course, has gotten closer to President Trump over the last several years. I want to read you what he wrote on Slack to his staff. He said, "I love the U.S. and its values of democracy and freedom and will be supportive of the country however I can. OpenAI will too. But part of loving the country is the American duty to push back against overreach. What's happening with ICE is going too far. There is a big difference between deporting violent criminals and what's happening now, and we need to get that distinction right." He goes on to say, "President Trump is a very strong leader, and I hope he will rise to this moment and unite the country. I'm encouraged by the last few hours of response," this note, by the way, being sent late yesterday afternoon, "and hope to see trust rebuilt with transparent investigations." This is really the first major CEO in Silicon Valley to come out so publicly and speak out in this way. This was an internal message, I should say, so it was not released publicly. We did get our hands on it overnight, but nonetheless, I think there is a movement, or at least a moment here. Having said that, you still have not heard from so many other business leaders around the country who have, for whatever reason, decided that they don't want to touch this. But clearly, business leaders, I think, have an important role in this moment. I've always been a follow the money kind of person, and this president in particular has listened to business leaders.
Yeah, well, and it is even more discordant when you have so many tech leaders lining up to go to the White House to see a documentary about Melania the weekend that a man is shot execution style, or certainly one of the people saying it looked like he was shot execution style, and they went and did that, and of course, which is certainly the right, but then it goes silent on.
Well, and there's a question about whether there's going to be blowback.
This killing.
You look online, Tim Cook, who was at that screening, there's been a lot of blowback against Apple online. But by the way, I just want to say credit where credit is due with Sam Altman in this case, because he is somebody who has gotten, as I said, closer to the president. And by the way, his co-founder, Greg Brockman, has been a major donor to the president. And of course, they rely in large part on the government helping them with a whole bunch of different elements of the infrastructure build out. So I was, as I said, credit to Sam for doing this, because there's not been any others that have been able to say it aloud.
Well, I completely agree with you. Credit where credit is due. And again, I want to be very clear. If Tim Cook wants to go to the White House to celebrate the release of a movie with the president, it's probably in the best interest of the shareholders. I certainly understand that. I understand if other people want to go there and do that, if that's their job and their focus. But it seems to me if they do, they especially have responsibility to speak out when such brutality is exhibited at the same time. So CNBC's Andrew Ross Sorkin. Go ahead, Andrew.
I was just going to say, my only hope is for those who are not speaking out because they somehow value being in the room, that proximity to power. My only hope is that they're using that proximity, if they're not going to say it aloud, to say it privately to the president, to use whatever influence they have if they have access to the ear of the president, to use it. And I think there's a distinction between showing up at a screening and then what they are or are not saying in that moment.
Well, right. And I will say, again, obviously, if you go out and you attack a president, not only do you hurt your company, you also put the president even more in a corner.
Yes.
But there are times where you do have to speak out. This weekend was one of those times. But I completely agree with you also. There are people who see the president all the time and have seen presidents through the years that have those meetings, and they try to move the president, whether it's this president or 45 previous presidents, to move in a certain direction. I completely take your point. CNBC's Andrew Ross Sorkin, as always, thank you so much. And coming up, Marine veteran Trevor Reed, who was wrongly imprisoned by Russia for nearly 1,000 days and went on to fight for Ukraine on the front lines, will be our guest next. Morning Joe back in just a minute.
I just don't know what else I can do to convince people to buy Kind Science.
Make a deal. You're the deal queen.
I am?
Right? Yeah.
No one calls me that.
It'll catch on.
So people say, what is Kind Science? Not everybody, but some people have said that to me. What is Kind Science? Well, let's break it down. Kind is because it's kind to your skin, all types of skin, no matter what your skin is. And then it's balanced by science to give you really great results. Tons of customers have seen results, and that's all thanks to Kind Science.
Firm it up with some firming serum. Let's go. I'm already feeling the tightening happening. Tighter, tighter, tighter. Crazy about the hydration cream. I love this. It's like a warm, luscious, velvety kiss for your dry skin. When you smile a lot, you get these wrinkles here. So the overnight repair is great for making those fine lines less noticeable.
If you bought each of these individually, it would be $250. I did the math. You don't have to do it. Just trust me. But no, it's going to be $79.95 for this system. It's going to be the introductory wrinkle fighting system. Okay? But then I'm going to give it to you for $59.95. All 6. I know. Believe me, I'm shaking my head. Today, if you do it, I'm going to give you 2 free gifts. You'll get them if you order today. If you don't like it, before 60 days, you can send it right back. How about that?
That is a really good guarantee, actually.
$59.95 for all 6. Come on now.
Sold separately, you'd pay over $250 for all this. The Kind Science Deluxe Wrinkle Fighting System is $79.95. But with this DeGeneres deal, save 25% today and get this introductory system for just $59.95. Plus 2 free gifts and free shipping. Get this deal now. You're holding your phone, so scan the code. Go to kindscience.com or call the number to order right now.
Because I have both Medicaid and Medicare,
Susie
That
Wiles,
comes
White House
with a
Chief of
whole
Staff,
lot
according
of
to Vanity
these.
Fair, wanted this laser focus on the economy. Why? What was she seeing?
Why? Because the economy and inflation ate Joe Biden's presidency alive, and now it is eating Donald Trump's presidency alive. I mean, just take a look here. Net approval rating on the economy. You go back to this point in the Joe Biden presidency, he was 19 points underwater. You go into Donald Trump's presidency, hey, he started off in the positive territory at plus 6 points. But down he goes, down the slide into the ocean. He goes negative 20 points. Donald Trump is actually in slightly worse position right now in the economy than Joe Biden was in this presidency. And of course, Joe Biden, as I said at the top, the economy ate his presidency alive. And right now, it is eating Donald Trump's presidency alive.
A lot of the focus the last few days, understandably, has been on the immigration crackdown. Is that what Americans want to see?
No, this is the whole thing. You know, why is Donald Trump going into Iowa right now? And it is because of this. I mean, Trump administration is focusing too little on lowering prices. The vast majority, 3 in 4 Americans say he's focusing too little on lowering prices. That's why he's going into Iowa. What is he focusing too much on? He's focusing too much on deportations at 53%. The Americans want to focus on the economy and lowering prices. They don't want on the deportations. And right now, they think it's flipperoo. And that's why Donald Trump, again, going into Iowa, trying to flip that script, a script that right now the American people do not like.
For full disclosure, I cheated and actually read ahead on this presentation. This next slide, I think, is the most interesting. What do we know about when presidents aren't doing well with the economy, how that affects the midterms?
I'm going to forgive John for skipping ahead here, but the audience will follow along with the lesson plan as it was supposed to be told. Take a look here. The president's party, the average midterm House seat loss. If the president's net approval rating on the economy is positive, which Donald Trump isn't, you keep your House seats lost to a minimal, right? You lose about 9 seats on average. If it is negative, the president is not liked on the economy. If his net approval rating in the economy is negative, as it is right now for Donald Trump, look at the average House seat loss. It's a 28-seat loss on average, which would wave adios amigos, goodbye, see you later, that a House majority, and it probably would put the Senate majority in danger as well. When a president is seen negative on the economy, his party suffers. Big league, to put it into President Trump's language, big league when it comes to the midterm election.
And that's just negative. That doesn't even account for negative 20 on the economy. All right, going to Iowa, there will be an open Senate seat there. What are the prediction markets saying about that seat?
Okay, so if you know anything about Iowa, recent politics in Iowa, right? The president won it by double digits. He's won it all 3 times. There has not been a Democratic senator that was a non-incumbent Democrat to win an Iowa Senate seat since 1984. The chance that the GOP wins in 2026. A year ago, to win that Senate seat, it was 81%. Now it's down to 66%. Look, that's still a majority chance, but in a state that Donald Trump won by double digits, that foreshadows big problems coming into the midterm election.
This trend may be going state by state right now, for sure.
Yes.
Harry, thank you very much for this.
Thank you, and it's okay despite your cheating.
I go to the last page always. A lot of news this morning. We'll be right back.
The Odds, brought to you by Cal.
We're going to end with the tens of thousands of people who braved the bitter cold Friday, demanding ICE out of Minnesota. Democracy Now!'s John Hamilton was there.
ICE out! ICE out! ICE out! ICE out!
It was 10 degrees below zero Fahrenheit when a crowd numbering in the tens of thousands marched through downtown Minneapolis Friday afternoon, calling on ICE to get out of Minnesota. It was the largest single day of action so far in the ongoing standoff between local community and the Trump administration since ICE, Border Patrol, and other federal agents, now numbering around 3,000, descended on Minnesota for Operation Metro Surge several weeks ago, bringing chaos, fear, and violence.
My name is Jenna Sherrick. I'm a local Minnesotan who grew up here my whole life. What's going around is not okay, and we all need to be here to make a difference and say it's not okay. When cruelty becomes reality, compassion becomes radical.
Sarah Shea. I'm a Minnesotan, and I'm here to support our immigrant neighbors and our friends and families and people who are not deserving what's going on right now. It's outrageous. We're frustrated. We're angry. We're everything, and we should all be out here supporting our neighbors and getting ICE out of our city. ICE out, and we protect us, because right now that is all us. It's all community. We are the only ones out here doing it for each other.
Standing back and not doing anything doesn't help with, the situation. Everybody's scared, so we need to speak out.
The day of action was organized by clergy and labor leaders under the banner ICE Out, a day of truth and freedom. The Minnesota AFL-CIO, representing over 1,000 unions across the state, endorsed the march, as well as many others. John Royce is an English teacher with the Minnesota Federation of Educators.
And we are here to shut it all down. All of us teachers, from Minneapolis to St. Paul, from all the way up from Duluth down to Rochester, we are all here in the middle of Minneapolis to shut it all down for our students and their families and ICE out of our communities. Every teacher has so many stories right now, but last week I had a student who joined online during class, and in the middle of my lesson, I teach English, the student messaged me and said, ICE is outside of my house right now. What do I do? And I stopped class right away. All the students heard what happened. And, thank God his neighbors were out there outside of his house and they chased ICE out of their neighborhood. Those agents had been circling his house all morning. And, you know, I think it's really telling of our community, of our neighborhoods, how we've organized, and how we are out there defending one another, including my student, who, thank God, he's safe. You know, the fear is so tangible. The fear is so tangible. This is our last option. We need to shut it all down. And so I am calling on every educator in this state, in this country, just shut it down with Minneapolis, with St. Paul. You need to shut it all down with us, because if we do not shut it down right now, your city is next. And we do not want that to happen. We want to protect our students. We want our students back in schools. And the way we are going to get it is by shutting it down to get ICE the hell out of here.
Among those protesting were members of the Hmong American community, like Julie, whose family came to the United States decades ago as refugees after working alongside the U.S. in its secret war in Laos during the Vietnam War. She held a sign that read Hmong against ICE.
Scary, because they don't, regardless if you're a citizen or not, they don't ask, no question asked. They just assume that you're illegal, that you're a criminal. And it's not fair for those of us, people of color. My parents, they're citizen, but then we all live in fear. I'm a citizen and I still live in fear every single day. And then now my kids are fear of, going to school, because they have heard of stories of kids getting detained. And then my kids, they're scared of going to school. We was promised safety. We was promised that, we'll get the freedom. But yet, today's world, we are seeing that, it's getting revoked. Like, the United States are taking back the words. And the question is, why? Why is it getting revoked? Why are we now being targeted as, aliens, criminals? Some of us took off work, no school, no shopping, so we're all out here against ICE.
As demonstrators in the streets shut down parts of the Twin Cities, more than 700 businesses across the state closed their doors for what some called an economic blackout or general strike. Insight Brewing in Minneapolis was closed for business but stayed open for neighbors participating in the day of action. This is marketing manager Joey Steinbach.
We are a space for our community, and our community is hurting right now. And the best way that we can help out is just direct to family donations. We've got a bunch of volunteers that are absolutely stellar. Outside of that, we're just making some signs. We're providing snacks, hand warmers, just being a temporary third space while we're not open for official business.
Corporations that support or work with ICE were also targeted by demonstrators, like at the Minneapolis-St. Paul airport. Where demonstrators gathered to protest deportation flights. The crowd of several hundred held signs that said business as usual doesn't fly and Renee Good was good. Among those who gathered were dozens of faith leaders. They shared stories of airport workers who had been arrested.
Lift up Pedro, a janitor who helped his sister who was unable to work and was detained. No! He decided to self-deport because he could not take the conditions at the detention center in Texas.
The union that represents airport workers reports at least 12 members have been arrested by ICE. Clergy then joined arms and sang while others knelt and prayed before police surrounded them, and at least 100 were arrested. According to organizers, more than 70,000 people marched in Minneapolis Friday, and several thousand were in attendance at the Target Center for a rally. This is comedian and native Minnesotan Liz Winstead.
And the untold thousands that are in this Sport Bowl facility, I am proud to call you neighbors. I do have to point out that we are in the Target Center, which may seem ironic, but remember the Target Center is something our tax dollars pay for. So chant it with me. Whose stadium? Whose stadium?
We are many. We are many.
The venue is named after the retail giant based in Minnesota that activists have criticized for permitting ICE to operate on their property and to arrest employees without warrants.
And when today is over, let's commit to shopping at the businesses that stood with us and make sure they can make it through these tough times, because the silence from the corporations in this state is deafening.
Speaking at the rally, faith and labor leaders urged Minnesotans to continue to stand together. This is CWA President Claude Cummings.
We stand in defiance of a wannabe dictator, and we will rise against the corporations and Trump's billionaire buddies quietly funding his campaign to shred the Constitution. Political scientists and historians tell us when countries have successfully prevented or reversed authoritarian control, unions have played an important role in stopping it. How do we do that? We stand shoulder to shoulder with our union siblings and with allies across the country. We do that when we join together and focus our attention directly on the corporations that enable fascism. Our unity across communities, organizations, and unions is our power. And whatever we do, we must do it together.
And they spoke of neighbors who had been lost to ICE violence. This is Rabbi Ariel Lekach Rosenberg.
I want to lift up the names of two neighbors. Victor Manuel Diaz, abducted from his workplace in Minnesota on January 6th, who died in ICE custody in Texas on January 14th. I want to lift up the name of Renee Macklin Good, queer poet, wife, parent, murdered in South Minneapolis by ICE on January 7th while observing an abduction in her neighborhood. May their memories be for blessing. May their families be comforted and surrounded in love.
The next day, another Minnesotan would be killed, Alex Jeffrey Preety. For Democracy Now!, this is John Hamilton in Minneapolis.
Voices from Friday's massive protest and rally in Minnesota's unions and churches led an economic blackout to protest ICE. Special thanks to John Hamilton and Sam Alkoff and our special storm team here in New York. Tamiri Astudioch, Chirina Nadura, Robbie Karen, Mike Burke, Nicole Salazar, Mike DeFilippo, Safwat Nazal, Becca Staley, John Randolph, Cole Markshire, Julie Crosby, Dina Guzder, Messiah Rhodes. I'll be speaking at the John Barrymore Center in Fort Lee. Thanks for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to make sure you never miss a video. And for more of our audience-supported journalism, go to democracynow.com.
Everywhere the Trump administration tries to put new camps, new ICE facilities and ICE prison camps, they're being pushed back. Now, this is something we've been trying to cover here on this show in recent weeks. I do feel like we're sort of starting to get our arms around it, but I just want to say to our friends in the national media, we could use some help on this story. I think this is an important story, and it'd be great to have more national media attention to it. The Trump administration really is trying to build Trump.
Don't your parents know the holidays are over?
If Verizon's keeping the holiday spirit, Nick, so are we. We just got a great deal.
Super fast, reliable home internet for just $35 a month.
Switch to Fios Home Internet starting at $35 a month with a 3-year price guarantee.
I'm gonna go grab a soda.
There's this planned congressional hearing where they've subpoenaed the Clintons and some other people, but I anticipate that'll be a pretty controlled hearing. I don't think you're going to hear any questions about Mark Middleton or Chinagate there, or what Epstein was doing those 17 times he went to the White House. I think that's why they only want to keep the discussion sex trafficking, because it's wider than that. Epstein was absolutely doing a lot of really shady arms trafficking stuff and financial criminality, and they have no interest in getting deep in the weeds there.
Because that exposes other people.
Absolutely. Basically, what I argue in my book is that the network behind Epstein and the reason why there's so many powerful people in this group is because it's born out of this union that occurred during World War II between organized crime and the nascent U.S. intelligence apparatus, which, of course, there was a lot of British involvement with that when in the creation of, the CIA and the OSS and all of that in World War II. That alliance officially happened. It's known as Operation Underworld, even though the U.S. intelligence community denied it for several decades. They now admit it. But that alliance, it was justified out of wartime necessity. We have to team up with the mob to win the war, right? But after the war, the alliance provably continued. So ultimately, essentially what happened then is that a lot of these rackets that were previously of organized crime, arms trafficking, drugs trafficking, sex trafficking, prostitution, whatever, became, rackets of intelligence services.
In what way?
Well, I mean, there's a litany of evidence of the CIA being involved in drug trafficking and arms trafficking via illegal means for many decades. And a lot of those networks that the CIA used go back to the same nexus. I mean, that's basically what volume 1 of my book is about.
But why would they be in bed with these criminals?
It's great business. The CIA and the OSS were really mostly Wall Street people, Wall Street lawyers and bankers, and it was great business for them to team up with these people. So basically, it's a new market. It's a illegal market with state protection. And so the CIA more often than not has gone over the competition for those markets. And that's why you have all these scandals, but no accountability for the CIA being involved in drug trafficking, arms trafficking, and all sorts of scandals over the years. But there's never been any accountability since, there was an effort with it at the, during the Church Committee in the late 70s. But since then, the CIA investigates itself and exonerates itself every time.
Okay, sorry, I'm just trying to get my head around this. So whilst the CIA, Central Intelligence Agency, is meant to be protecting U.S. interests abroad,
they define U.S. interests, I think, as something than what the American public is. So if you look at the CIA's earliest coups, their earliest regime change operations, they were done on behalf of very powerful multinational corporations, like Anglo-American Oil in Iran and the United Fruit Company in Guatemala, some of the earliest examples. So to them, protecting U.S. interests is protecting the interests not necessarily of the American people, but of massive American-based, multinational corporations.
So it's all economic defense,
in a sense.
Arguably economic defense, because wasn't the Guatemala? Didn't they remove a kind of socialist leader who wanted to return land to the Guatemalans?
Yeah. Well, that historically has been the justification for a lot of it, and a lot of the justification was sort of Cold War era stuff. We don't want this leader to become close to the Soviets, ergo we must remove him from power. But, the means of that have been pretty scandalous, especially if you look at what came downstream of some of those governments in Latin America, for example. Chile being a notable example where, Henry Kissinger and the CIA in 1973 orchestrated a coup against Salvador Allende, and then Augusto Pinochet takes over. Mm-hmm. It's obviously a still very sore spot in Chilean politics, but objectively, there's a lot of things Pinochet did that are really indefensible. He teamed up with a German pedophile guy who ran this place called Colonia Dignidad with his government's approval. A lot of people tied to the Pinochet government were involved in basically trafficking babies that were stolen from their mothers and then sent to adoption agencies at the U.S. People made money off of this, and nothing was done. And he had a lot of really shady bank accounts, did shady arms deals. So, okay, the socialist guy is gone, but, was it really did it really justify all this other stuff? I mean, I'm probably going to get in trouble for getting into Chilean stuff just because, people will accuse me of defending one side or the other. But I think, obviously, Pinochet engaged in behavior that was really, really bad and should,
And it's interfering with the democratic process.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, people elect a leader, and then the CIA comes in and deposes them and puts in a dictator. I mean, they've done this around the world over and over again. And I mean, it's not even, they've also interfered in elections throughout Europe. They engaged in things like Operation Gladio, where that was basically teaming up with, the Italian mafia, interests of the Vatican, and the CIA-backed terror groups in Europe. Those terrorist activities were blamed on left-leaning people in order to get people to vote with right-leaning parties to prevent European countries from affiliating themselves with, the Soviet Union. But would they have even done that? I don't know. I mean, it was a preemptive thing. And so, I mean, eventually, but I mean, again, this is how the CIA justifies the stuff to itself. I would argue that a lot of it was about economic interests. And at the same time, you know, a lot of these actors were involved in sort of backrooms deals with, you know, either Soviet intelligence or Chinese intelligence or the Chinese military. You know, that's sort of what the Chinagate thing ultimately circles back to. And there's
tell me about that.
Really quick, I want to bring up this point. So Samuel Pisar, very close friend of Robert Maxwell, who I'm sure we'll get.
Look at us. Nobody would ever think that two people like us would be spies.
To the KGB, I'm a POI, a person of interest. But you two are PONIs.
Ponies. Persons of no interest.
I'll get into later. He was a lawyer, among other things. He testified to Congress in the early 70s about what he saw happening, and he talked about the rise of the trans-ideological corporation, where U.S. multinational corporations were basically entering into all these joint ventures and becoming extremely entangled with state-owned companies of the communist East in Russia and China. And he said that this was creating a new economic system of governance that was making the nation state irrelevant. And this is in the early 70s. And a congressman was like, well, do you think this is a bad thing? And he was like, not necessarily. And he was actually at the forefront of making that happen. And a lot of these people, including people like Robert Maxwell, did try and further that kind of vision. You know, so ultimately, if that was happening at the early 70s and they admitted it, you know, a lot of these actors that justified things out of the necessity of the Cold War, just like they justified it with the, you know, out of the necessity of World War II, it really doesn't add up with what the public justification is.
Is it even possible to understand what the mandate of the CIA is? That because it seems very
well, it's supposed to be to protect American national security, but national security for a long time has been this huge catch-all, right?
Of course, yeah, that's
and
what
the
I mean.
U.S. has justified all sorts of things under the guise of national security. You know, presumably continued to do so. So, you know, I don't really give that a lot of weight. I mean, so as an example, like the Reagan administration, when Iran-Contra was being investigated, there was a line of questioning brought up about how the group that was responsible for that in the Reagan administration had developed something called the Continuity of Government Protocols, whereby under a vaguely defined national emergency, basically the entire American Constitution could be suspended. Pretty scandalous stuff. And one of the examples of this vaguely defined national emergency was a widespread nonviolent opposition to U.S. military intervention abroad. And when a congressman tried to ask Oliver North about this at the Iran-Contra trial, they basically shut down the hearing under the guise of national security. But it's crazy.
Well, if you think the economic strength of the U.S. is national security, that's a catch-all for protecting
the American multinational corporations that openly admitted, if you believe Pisar, intermingling with the state-owned companies of, you know, China and Russia are ostensible adversaries.
But you can justify the protection of a multinational in another country by changing the administration, and you could
re-domiciling them,
or allowing or turning a blind eye to banks banking money from drug trafficking.
Yeah, of course.
And so it then creates a different set of rules for those within the elite gang of what they can and can't do from what you and I as mere plebs.
So taking this back to the Epstein scandal, I think that's why they only want to keep the discussion at sex trafficking.
Because it's wider than sex
Because it's wider than that. Epstein was absolutely doing a lot of really shady arms trafficking stuff and financial criminality, and they have no interest in getting deep in the weeds there.
Because that exposes other people.
Sure. Absolutely. And basically, you know, this illusion that our world operates the way, you know, we're told it operates. There's this planned congressional hearing where they've subpoenaed the Clintons and some other things, some other people, but I anticipate that'll be a pretty controlled hearing. I don't think you're going to hear any questions about Mark Middleton or Chinagate there, or what Epstein was doing those 17 times he went to the White House. It's all going to be about everything that happened after Clinton was no longer president, which is, if you look at how the Epstein case has been treated with respect to Bill Clinton for years now, it only focuses on Clinton after he left office. It's the same for Bill Gates, too. They only focus on the Gates-Epstein relationship after Gates was no longer chairman of Microsoft.
So it's planned, controlled, the trickle of information feeding scraps to us?
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's defining the spectrum of what's interesting. It's a limited hangout, so it's like they define some tidbits that are interesting within a spectrum, and people are so entranced by what's in that spectrum, they don't look for anything beyond that. They just assume that's all there is.
Because if we know everything, it opens up everything. It's Pandora's box.
Well, it is a Pandora's box in a way. Yeah, sure. Because basically, if you go, as my books show, if you go as deep as I went in writing those 2 books, and you could certainly go deeper, it basically shows that, the world is basically run by a meta cartel.
Explain that.
Well, I would argue, it is a cartel. It basically operates with impunity, and they have no accountability for all of their crimes, even when they're exposed here and there. Some people just are protected and above the law, almost inexplicably. And as I point out in my book, it's a lot of the same actors over and over again, the same institutions, and you can see when one institution crumbles, another one pops up in its place. So as an example in the book, I talk a lot about the Bank of Credit and Commerce International, BCCI, that implodes in 1991. It's covered up by William Barr when he was Attorney General, who covered up Iran-Contra, the Promise Software scandal, and BCCI, all as being Attorney General, and later would return to kind of do that for Trump 1 when he was, Attorney General again. But after BCCI implodes, a lot of their portfolio of organized crime and shady interests goes to the banks of that are sort of related to this guy named Edmund Safra. And Edmund Safra dies in his home, supposedly from the story is very bizarre, but from arson allegedly set by his American nurse because she wanted to set a fire and then save him from it, but then didn't save him from it. Yeah. It's fine. Anyway, he was very good friends with Robert Maxwell and a lot of these figures that pop up all over the place in the Epstein case. And then who absorbs his banks? HSBC. They basically take those over, and then HSBC gets exposed. I forget. I think it wasn't the Panama Papers, but it was like one of those consortium of journalists that published these leaks, basically revealed a lot of prominent people that were part of these HSBC Swiss accounts that had been inherited from Safra. Epstein was one of them. Some associates of Epstein, like Flavio Briatore, are there. But also, HSBC was laundering money for drug cartels. And who didn't go after them when they were in charge of the Bank of England? Mark Carney, who is now Prime Minister of Canada.
And everyone's leaving.
And while he was head of the Bank of England, there's pictures of him hanging out with Ghislaine. So, who's, Father Robert Maxwell was banked by Safra, among other things. So, this Operation Underworld, all of that, the formation of this nexus predates the founding of the State of Israel. And so a lot of these actors, and I note this in my book too, were involved with the arming of the Haganah and these paramilitary groups that later create Israel in 1948, and then help them set up their intelligence agencies. So that's sort of how you get all this overlap between, Mossad, Britain, CIA. It goes back to, the beginning of Israel's national security complex, really.
Okay, let's rewind. A freak hailstorm.
FBI Director Kash Patel is going giga-viral because of unearthed comments he made about Kyle Rittenhouse years ago, now compared to the comments he has made about the killing of Alex Preddy by ICE agents. Now, let me just remind you, Kyle Rittenhouse was this young guy who decided to go to a protest armed in order to help defend people. Interesting. Well, let's start with Kash Patel yesterday speaking to Maria Bartiromo on Fox News. And Kash Patel says what happened to Alex Preddy was justified because he brought a loaded firearm. He brought a loaded firearm. You don't get the right to break the law. Well, what law was broken when Preddy was legally carrying the gun? We'll get to that. Here is Kash Patel.
Thousands of people are marching through Minneapolis. They are targeting the Border Patrol. It feels like the rhetoric and the protesting is only ramping up. What is your advice to the people right now who are outraged that this is a second killing at the hands of Border Patrol in 2 weeks?
as Christy said, you cannot bring a firearm loaded with multiple magazines to any sort of protest that you want. It's that simple. You don't have that right to break the law and incite violence. We will, of course, always protect your First Amendment speech. And if you peacefully protest, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. But you have seen a trend here, not just in Minnesota, but across the country in these protests turning into violent scenarios. And people.
Wait a second, Cash. Wait. You can't show up with a loaded gun. You don't have a right to break the law. I am all for gun safety regulations. You all know that. We don't have enough of them and we don't enforce the ones we have. But I'm also for let's understand the law. Under the Second Amendment and Minnesota Statute 624.714, you are allowed to legally carry firearms in public, including during protests. The United States Supreme Court has ruled that public carry is a constitutional right. Having a gun does not constitute inciting violence. Now, many of us have been saying for a long time, when these ammosexuals whose firearm size is inversely proportional to the size of their, right? You know what I'm talking about. Also wow, that's a big lifted truck, sir. You must have a massive, we have said they seem to be just trying to rile people up, but that doesn't make it illegal. Socially, we understand when these guys with the huge trucks and huge guns and tiny show up, that they are trying to get a reaction. They are trying to incite, and it's still legal. Alex Preddy did not draw his firearm. By all reports, it was taken off of his waistband or some kind of holster. He had a phone in his hand. And even if he had the gun as he did, the law doesn't say that that's illegal because it's legal. Now, by the way, what did Kash Patel say when he was speaking about Kyle Rittenhouse? He did this on the genocidal anti-vaxxer Stu Peters show, who, by the way, the guy that Kash is being interviewed in this clip I'm going to play is someone that Kash said he didn't know during his confirmation hearing. Here he is on his show. But first, really quick, I want to tell you about one of our sponsors. During these colder months,
Minneapolis, as a member of the
was justified.
This Treasury, 2 cartridges to
this on the genocidal anti-vaxxer Stu
trend here, not just in Minnesota, but across.
Wow, that's a big lifted truck, sir. You must have a massive. We have said they seem to be just trying to rile people up, but that doesn't make it illegal. Socially, we understand when these guys with the huge trucks and huge guns and tiny show up, that they are trying to get a reaction. They are trying to incite, and it's still legal. Alex Preddy did not draw his firearm. By all reports, it was taken off of his waistband or some kind of holster. He had a phone in his hand. And even if he had the gun as he did, the law doesn't say that that's illegal because it's legal. Now, by the way, what did Kash Patel say when he was speaking about Kyle Rittenhouse? He did this on the genocidal anti-vaxxer Stu Peters show, who, by the way, the guy that Kash is being interviewed in this clip I'm going to play is someone that Kash said he didn't know during his confirmation hearing. Here he is on his show. But first, really quick, I want to tell you about one of our sponsors. During these colder months, it's great to have something warm right out of the oven to have at home. Our sponsor, Wild Grain, is the Bake from Frozen subscription box for artisanal breads, pastries, and fresh pastas, all ready in about 25 minutes. Everything's made with simple ingredients, a slow fermentation process, no shortcuts. The boxes are fully customizable, including gluten-free, vegan, and the new protein box. I've been loving the Wild Grain sourdough bread and the pretzel buns. Both are excellent. The sourdough is made with Wild Grain's own starter, takes days to develop with a light open crumb and crisp golden crust and a subtle tang that you want. The pretzel buns have a soft, airy interior, and that traditional Bavarian-style crust makes them great for sandwiches or burgers. I love having fresh bread on the table. It changes the feel of the whole meal. And Wild Grain makes it super easy. You just put it in the oven. Get $30 off your first box plus free croissants for life at wildgrain.com/David. The link is in the description. Now back to the video. And here's Kash Patel saying that Kyle Rittenhouse deserves due process and all of this stuff. Take a listen.
Where is that due process standing cause of the left now in the Rittenhouse cases you just outlined? The left wants to be hypocrites. They can be hypocrites because they write their own narratives, fictional, defame people along the way, and know they can get the media to print their garbage, their fake news garbage, and wreck people's lives.
Kyle Rittenhouse's life was wrecked by some who jumped the gun and said, I think he's guilty, before there had been a verdict. And Kash was furious. He was there legally carrying a gun. But when it comes to Alex Preddy, it's he was there carrying a gun. You can't do that. Therefore, his killing is justified. Remember, their principles mean nothing. They mean nothing. They abandon them as soon as they become inconvenient. A couple bonus clips on this. Here is Scott Bessent also asked about this. And he also throws in inaccurate statements about the gun element and also statements not based in what the law is.
Before you go, I know this is not your lane, but I got to ask you about what's happened in Minneapolis. As a member of the Trump cabinet, are you concerned to see another American citizen ends up dead, shot by federal law enforcement? Jonathan, it's a tragedy when anyone dies, but I can tell you the situation on the ground there is being stirred up by Governor Walz. I was out there 2 weeks ago. Governor Walz declined to provide a security detail for me to go into the Minnesota Capitol with the state police.
That has nothing to do with whether that killing of Alex Preddy was justified. Like, why are you even talking about this dude?
So he is fomenting chaos because there is substantial waste, fraud, and abuse. My job as Treasury Secretary.
Waste, fraud, and abuse. What does that have to do with Alex Preddy being shot 10 times?
Is to investigate that. And I think that this chaos that's going out there, and again, I am sorry that